All right, you ready? All right, I'd like to welcome everybody to the special November 1st school board meeting of the Metropolitan School District in North Posey. And we'll open the meeting by joining with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do the vision mission.
Our vision is we inspire all students to achieve their potential for learning a life in a safe and supportive environment. Our mission is we partner with our community to create a dynamic and innovative educational experience, empowering students to become educated, productive, and responsible citizens. Our core beliefs: we believe our community is vital to our educational success. Everyone is valued and treated with respect, and always telling the truth, an educational opportunity for all. Student-centered program, challenging and inspiring learning, in the pursuit of excellence through a strong sense of pride. And our high priorities are enhancing the student experience, investing in teachers and administrators, fostering strong relationships among all, and maximizing resources.
All right, our first item on the agenda is patrons' concern, and we will note that as non-registered. New business, Mr. Galvin.
So this evening, we, as you remember, we passed a budget back on October the 6th. And after meeting with our financial consultants and being made aware of some changes in the assessed values of property, actually all across the state, but most specifically for us here in Posey County, we decided to go back and revise our 2023 budget. So tonight we have to, according to statutory law, has to come back and have gone through the process. We had our posting of the public hearing 10 days prior to October the 22nd. October the 22nd was the last statutory date to be able to have the public hearing, and we had it that morning at 9 o'clock on that Saturday. And then tonight, or today, is actually the last statutory date that we can have our adoption of our budget. And so this evening, we are bringing that forward for your consideration. Everything remained the same in the budget, except for we added anticipated debt underneath our debt payment, which is Fund 181 that we have. And this is for the possibility that we will be considering in the November board meeting of the 1028 for the general obligation bond for up to 1.6 million. So that is the only change that is in the budget, is that that debt that we are proposing as possibility in the future. So we have here tonight, though, because of the change in the dates and stuff, we have to go back through and approve all the resolutions. So we have the resolution for appropriations and tax rates. We have that here. That has been noted on this form. The debt payment, the adopted budget would be proposed at $1,877,144. So that increased that adopted tax rate to 0.62 from where it was. Once again, the tax rate is still staying level for us as a district, because what happened is the assessed values went up, tax rates came down. So to keep our tax rates level, we're taking out this general obligation bond. So that's that first resolution. The next resolution is to adopt the bus replacement plan for budget year 2023. We leased those buses last year, and that's just a continuation of that lease this year. The resolution to adopt capital projects plan budget year for 2023, and that was our capital projects plan. The budget transfer resolution, that is for us to transfer funds over to the rainy day fund, or excuse me, that's not that right one. Let me get to this real quick. This is for us to make transfers within funds to balance out the accounts at the end of this calendar year is what that is, to allow us to do that. The next one is recurring budget, and this is the 1.5 million to transfer from education fund into the operations fund. That one, the rainy day transfer fund, we asked that we may be able to transfer up to 300,000 out of the operations fund over to the rainy day fund. And so those are the resolutions that you're considering this evening.
All right, we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the updated resolutions as presented.
A second.
I'll second it.
So we have a motion by Mr. Schmidt, seconded by Mr. Colley. Any comments or questions?
If this were not approved tonight, we would revert back to the October 6th test budget.
I don't think so. Because I think this supersedes that.
But if it didn't pass, you've already passed the budget, though.
Yes, I guess so.
I don't think so, because we
Because we
reopened it.
reopened the
reopened
hearing
it, yeah.
accordingly. We'd have to probably,
You have to pass something, but yeah.
Something has to be passed tonight
Yeah.
again, even though we passed one on October 6th.
Yeah.
I don't know, we may have to get clarification on that, but
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the legal answer.
yeah, I don't either.
But the main difference is you're adding anticipated debt of up to 1.6 million.
Right.
And then you said, what did you say about the tax rate on there?
So the tax rate is at 0.62 for the debt payment, that section. And keep in mind, that's advertised. What may end up actually happening
It could be different.
could be totally different. Most of the time, the tax rate comes in lower than what we actually advertise. You always advertise high, and then they end up adjusting it when they come through.
If you're adding debt, though, you're going to have to bring in more money to pay off that debt. So we're having to bring in more because of this, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess you could say that the amount of taxes is going up, but the tax rate is staying
The
the
tax
same
rate
because
is
of the
level.
assessed value went up.
And so I'm just not sure everyone, the taxpayers quite understand what's going on here. And it's been a very fast process, which is not our fault. But
Yeah, because that was, like we said, Posey County was the
Was
last
behind.
one in the state to do this. And, and like we said, as I shared before, if we were just going to want to keep the tax rate level and didn't have a list of projects that needed to be completed, I think it would be irresponsible for us to come through and say, okay, well, we're going to do this just to keep the tax rate level. I think what it is we've got some definitely concerns that would help out in covering some of the expenses that we have. And, as a district, we have historically, our assessed value is much, much lower than any of the counties or corporations around us. And yet we continue to try to do what we're trying to do. So, and like I said, some of the things we're looking at, and I think it's important to have that out there as well, is, we're looking at replacing exterior doors over here at North Elementary that are pretty well original doors. So improving the security of that building. We're looking at replacing first through third grade classroom furnitures at both North Elementary and South Terrace. We're going to replace the fire system at the junior high and high school. We're going to replace the intercom system at the junior high and the high school. And then as well, to try to be strategic with that money, we're also, Duke Energy approached us about a month ago. And at that time, we just really felt like we didn't have any money. And we're going to strain the budget to really suddenly say, hey, we're going to pull $80,000 out or something. But because of this, what they're going to do is partner with us and actually replace all of our lighting at North Elementary into LED lighting, which will save us money down the road as well. We'd also like to reach out to Centerpoint, see if they would do the same thing with South Terrace, possibly. But the list of items that we have is probably much more than even the 1.6. We've talked a little bit about, and we don't want to get into a situation of where, I want to try to put this as much towards classrooms and stuff like that. But the high school gymnasium ceiling is, starting to flake off and stuff. And We've talked to some of the custodians. We've got big chunks of paint that are coming off and stuff, and that's kind of a safety hazard as well. We don't want to be in the middle of a basketball game and somebody get hurt. And so that's something that we've talked to individuals and they said that that's going to get worse now that that's opened up and stuff. So no longer coverage. So, but there's, we have broken scoreboards at some of our facilities. We're looking into some of our toilets at the high school. They're flushing very slow and stuff. So we got a couple of water heaters at the high school that aren't working, that need to be replaced or fixed. So there's things that we're putting together, that list, to make sure that we're addressing the needs of the district.
So the next time that this board will probably have an opportunity to be looking at doing something that would affect the tax rate would be that 2024 bond.
Right.
Which is one of the smaller ones and probably will not do everything that's needed to do at this point. But
Now, go ahead.
you could take out a larger bond in 2024. The only difference is right now is your tax rate, you're keeping it the same as previous. But still, when people start writing these checks, it's going to be a larger amount.
But it's not because of what we've done.
It's because their assessed value went up, and that could be because of inflation, because of property values going up, because they've added to their property, built on, there could be new homes. There's a handful of new homes in the district as well. So it's not just.
I think what would happen is that we're not increasing their taxes because of this. If anything, if we didn't do anything, we might possibly lower their taxes a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know that would definitely happen because, like we've said, another agency could come in and say, well, we're going to do this. Or like you and I have talked, the question is does this go on to the state, and then the state kind of settles it out from there and stuff. So
I think you need to be very careful. It's an unfortunate system that the state has set up for us, and that they're making everyone eventually look at having to do a referendum that seems to get by.
Sure.
And to pass something like that, you have to have very good rapport with your taxpayers and to make sure you get ahead in helping them to understand the needs of the school system. And like I said before, it's no fault of this board or the administration that this has moved so quickly, but it has moved quickly because it had to. And it just worries me a bit that we lose a little bit of that rapport with the taxpayers by how quick it's had to move. Whereas in 2024, if you come back and say you have a great need to increase that bond, it may not be taken quite as well. So as this process moves, if it does move forward, we need to make sure that we're helping these folks understand the needs of the school corporation.
Right.
The only thing go ahead, Greg.
And we're not, by the motion tonight that's on the table, we are not increasing that tax rate right now, or we are not
Not the rate.
we're not even setting that. This is a budget.
You're
It's all we're all
approving
doing.
the resolution for the tax rate.
Yeah, the actual, but what Greg's getting to is the actual vote on whether we do a bond or not will be at a different meeting.
Correct.
And this budget's valid whether we do or not do the bond.
Exactly.
The only thing I would add to what you're thinking is that there's a difference between rate and amount of taxes,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And they could still, if we did nothing, they could still pay more in taxes
Just because
of
assessment. and
because of the assessed value, but the rate may stay similar.
Yeah.
And what we can't control is what the other taxing entities throughout the county do that affects their tax rate as well.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that I would add to is on the referendum, keep in mind this bonds and debt obligations typically take care of facilities,
Yeah.
all right, and capital projects. A referendum is going to be more geared to operations.
Yeah.
So there are two different buckets of funds
Toward education.
toward education. So that's going to be typically like salaries and,
Whereas these are operations,
well, these are capital,
capital projects.
yeah, these are capital maintenance, things like that.
Yeah, you'll see referendums a lot of times for safety, teacher salaries.
And typically what they're, I mean, and you're right, and what the state is typically, what the state that we're in, or I guess the path of what the state of Indiana has done is to say that we're gonna fund your operations at this level per pupil, and if you need more, you're gonna have to go to the community to get more and raise that via a tax rate.
I think the other thing too is to take that a little bit further here, this 1.6 million is that we've had a mechanism come through. We haven't had to increase the property, the tax rate. We've also not had to do a referendum per se, but yet really in the long run, we're helping out both our operations fund and our education fund by doing this because, you're moving money out of that education fund to the operations fund to help fund, your operations and some of these smaller kinds of projects we're talking about with this. So if you're paying for that out of this, that's saving you that money in your operations. That's also helping with your education fund for us to continue to be competitive and provide those salaries to our teachers. Because that's usually what we try to do is that, if we have these bonds that come up, or like even the bond in 2024, it helps us to try to take care of some of those things that we would normally fund out of operations if we had the money, but we just don't have the money.
I think by this and the bond of 24, neither one of those were in play, we would be having a referendum discussion now about doing a referendum in 24, 25.
Because I think the other thing is like I've said, at 2024, your next bond doesn't come due for another 10 years. And that's another conversation I wanted to have with our financial people is that, okay, well, what could we do something at that 5 years out, like 2030 or 2029 or something? Because you're still going to have needs. Your facilities are older facilities. There's things that are breaking down and how do we handle those kinds of things as we move forward and stuff. So.
Why were we last to get our rate? Is it our county that didn't get it done?
I think everybody was delayed as well, but we were the final.
I think the state wasn't prepared for this. I think it caught them off guard. So. Did I answer your question, Vince?
I think so.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? So we have a first and a second to approve the resolutions as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
All right, so that should pass at 3-1. You do have to sign indicating your vote on these resolutions, so we'll go ahead and take care of that.
We're going to have you sign both of these because we're trying to figure out their statements on the back.
See which one we need.
Yeah, try to see which one we need. So we're going to sign both of those.
Since Amy's not here, what are we gonna do on that? We'll have to get her to come in, I guess.
She can't, she couldn't.
She can attest, can't she?
I don't think so, not if it when she's not at the meeting. She's not here to witness, it's a witness thing. But say one of the other board members just need to,
So,
I mean, it's kind of like when you weren't here, Greg.
yeah, I'm acting secretary, so should
Yeah.
I?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you'd be,
Okay.
yep.
I'm feeling I'm gonna get a call tomorrow and say, hey, we need you in here to sign.
She can't sign it if she's not witnessing the vote.
Probably do need to make sure the minutes reflect that you are the acting secretary.
Correct.
And we probably need to let our constituents know that Amy was not here because she had a prior engagement with her work and she was traveling, so that's why she's not here. upload the resolutions to Gateway. So I think only if you just put in acting secretary.
That's a Halloween, you could dress up like it.
That'd be pretty scary.
I sign this on the same line that Vince's on, or should I skip a line?
You can decide on the same line that Vince is on. That's fine.
Yeah, I think that's myself.
That's what I think. Let's see what they said. I think it's in the same month, December, or you,
Yes, I look.
they're both gonna be down.
We don't anticipate in that bond.
Got everything?
There's one more.
Oh,
Okay, that was the only thing on the agenda. Before we adjourn, does anybody have anything for the good of the order? All right, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Second that.
A motion by Mr. Collins, seconded by Mr. Schmidt. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.